Hey everybody, it's Nathan Cool with nathancoolphoto.com, and in this tutorial I wanted to show you how to deal with sky swaps on stormy days. Now if you've ever tried sky swaps and it's been an overcast, cloudy day, you notice that sometimes the sky won't match the house. Well, I've got some tricks to adjust some of those lighting techniques for you to show you how to deal with it, how to prep for it, how to shoot for it, and then how to edit it as well. I'm going to be using Lightroom and Photoshop to do this, and I wanted to mention before going forward that I also offer some online training to help you through some of these situations. If you've ever watched one of my videos or you're going through this and you're wondering, okay, wait a minute, I'm trying this myself, this isn't quite going quite well, I can help you out with that. And it's one-on-one individual training that I give to you, done through online. You can be remote anywhere that you want to be. For more information on that, email me at nathan@nathancoolphoto.com. Getting back to our tutorial though, once again, this will be for sky swaps on stormy days to overcome how we can deal with problem skies, that we get the proper amount of lighting, get something that looks a lot more realistic, but something better than the original photo. Ready to get started? Let's go. So this is definitely a stormy looking sky. This is something that we run across quite a bit here in this area with morning marine layer, especially in the June timeframe we call June gloom. And so what I do when I'm shooting houses like this is I'll take a variety of different exposures and I do bracket it. Like you can see, here's another one that's shot a lot higher. So what I do in preparation for this is I will start shooting at about ISO 100, 3/20th of a second, f8 with a one stop bracket, just 3 shots. So it's going one up, one down. Then what I do is I quickly adjust and I go down just 2 clicks, which would be 2/3 stops. You can see me go, yeah, here's a dark, here's even a darker, here's a light. Then I just go down 2 clicks, which is 2/3 of a stop, and I start getting more pictures. So eventually I get something that I do like to work with, and I've got a variety of footage. And the ones we're going to be working with today are this one, that's particularly dark, and it's very important to start with this one. You don't want necessarily a completely blown out picture, but we do need this exposure. And by the way, I'm using a monopod on this. Tripod would even be better, but for speed, I'm just using a monopod. So these are fairly sharp. I've already applied the presets you've seen me do these in other videos. So I'm just going to go ahead and select both of these images. I'm going to go edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. So you've seen me do this before when I'm doing flambient techniques or whatever. It's the same way of doing any type of compositing. And that's basically what we're going to be doing here, but we're going to be adding another layer into it. So first we have these two come up. Now I've got a preset to auto align these layers, but you will need to auto align them. And if you don't have a preset, highlight both those layers, go up to Edit, and you'll see Auto Align Layers. Select that, and I usually just let Auto take control of it, and it's going to auto align those. And once it's done, you can see there was something off. You can see it by looking at the corners and the edges here. There's definitely an overlap, but that's okay. We've got plenty of footage to work with, and it's something that I prepared for. I always shoot wider than I need to. I'm shooting at a full frame, so I've got plenty of pixels to play with. So the next thing I want to do is I want to move the bright image to the very top. You can see me doing this over here on the right. I'm dragging that guy up, okay? So he's on the top. We're going to just leave him there for a second, and we're going to hide the layer mask. So we're going to go Layer, Mask, Hide All. So now we've got something that not looking too bad, okay, to start with. And although it looks really dark, this is more ideal for doing a sky swap. Why? Because we want to be able to get around these edges of all the leaves and trees. If I disabled my layer mask over here on the bright layer, notice how there's ghosting. There's these where the leaves go into kind of the blown out effect. So we don't want that. We want good definition for doing these sky swaps. So let's go ahead and zoom back out here. Now, I'm going to go down to this layer, the dark layer, and I want to be able to select everything that I've got on here. So before doing that, let's zoom out a little bit. Let's pick out a sky. So the one that I had picked out, and this is very key, is that this particular sky, and I shoot these whenever I see a sky in the area. My neighborhood actually where I live is down over here. I was just out for a nice hike after a storm, and we can see that, hey, there's a little bit of a stormy sky. So it's not a sunny sky, it's something that's in between that we can get away with. So that, yes, there would be a lot of shadows. You can see on the ground, there were a lot of shadows. There was some sunlight, so we can get away with using this, and that's key to doing this, but there will be more. So I'm just going to drag him out of here. Now I'm using View and X on this, which is a Nikon program for viewing images. You can use a lot of different programs, even Windows Explorer, but I'm going to drag him over on top of the image. he places them there, but before putting them in place, I'm going to take his opacity down so I can see where I am. Then I'm going to move him into a place I think would look good. Now I can see where the mountains were in the old picture, and I want to be able to get some blue sky, but I definitely want clouds. So that looks good for me. So I'm going to leave him right there. So that's totally fine. Now I'm going to change him back to 100%. Now an important thing here is that this layer is at the very top. So let's go ahead and make sure he's at the top, move him there, and then we're just going to go layer, mask, hide. Okay, now we can start doing the selection for replacing him. Now you've seen me do this on other videos too where I do sky swaps. This time though we're going to do something a little bit different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go select the color range. And I'm going to select first this dropper tool here, and I'm going to select something there. Now if you watch, that didn't select all the colors I want because there's many different colors of gray. This is a darker one, it's not completely blown out. So now select the plus dropper and start going around some of the edges that you want to make sure are well refined. And you can start seeing what's happening on our mask here. It's picking up and adding those different colors in there. That'll make sure that we've got a good amount of definition between all these different things, all these different shades of gray that are showing up in the sky. And if it was a color sky, you know, had a little bit of blue in it, this would, you know, be able to pick that up. So that looks good. You can see where I've got that definition. So, excuse me, once I've done that, now I've still got other stuff selected. So go over to the quick selection tool up here on the left and make sure it's on minus. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the places I don't want it to be in. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to get it off the sidewalk here, up and around the house where I've got those little bits there on the stones, some on the pillar, got more on the sidewalk down here. And you look for those marching ants, and wherever you see them, you click, you get rid of them, and that looks pretty good to me. Okay, a little bit more here on the bits on the stones, and I think that probably picked all of them up. So let's say that it did. That's good. Now, let's go back up to our sky layer and make sure that the mask is selected and press X. By pressing X, it swapped the colors over here on the left. If you notice they were like this, going X takes them back and forth. Make sure that it's black and white, not white and black. With the mask selected, go select, modify feather, and you can do 1 or 2 pixels. I'm going to do 2. And then just press the delete key. Boom. Okay, now the sky's in there, press Control D, and that deselects it. Now, that's not looking too bad. That's a pretty good looking sky swap as far as the evenness of it goes, but we're definitely not done to try to match this up. Now comes in the fun from using our other layer that was really bright. He was this guy here. And you can see if we did a sky swap how awful that would have looked on the different shadows and ghosts. So now we're going to take a brush on that layer mask of that bright layer, 10%, and we're going to start painting in a little bit of, excuse me, now I've got to go X to change my colors back to white and black because now we're going to paint with a brush. I'm going to start painting in him. Now, why am I not using a brush in Photoshop to bring that out? Well, this guy has no noise, so I've got a lot better rendition coming off of him. So I'm going to just do this on parts of the house to still try to make it look somewhat shadowy. So I'm not going to pick up all of it. I've got a lot more control. So now some natural shadows can appear to come back where I want them. So I'll just go, for instance, lightly over the driveway and just a little bit over here. Maybe a few spots just here and there around the grass. So I'm not doing it very evenly. That's why I'm not doing a cutout. Also allows me to then leave the other houses on both sides of this. This is California. Obviously everything is next to each other very close unless you've got a bazillion dollars. So getting that in, and let's just say that's good enough. I'll just maybe add just a tad more in there to lighten that up. So not looking too bad. But this is one of the tricks, is by using something that another layer that was highly exposed, you're able then to get a variety of different exposures in there to imitate shadows. So that's not looking too bad. Let's zoom out a little bit and let's do another trick. And by the way, if I were to do this on the edges of the house, it's not hitting the sky. Why? Because that layer is below the sky layer. Very important. Now here's something else we're going to do. To try to get this sky to somewhat match at this point, I'm going to select the sky layer. I'm going to go Layer, Adjustment Layer, Brightness and Contrast. Now I'm going to apply a clipping mask, and that's by clicking this little doodad here on the bottom and then I'm going to up the brightness on that. Now this will up the brightness of the sky to the point where I like the look of it compared to the house, which would be right about there. That looks pretty good to me. Now, one of the things on this sky layer that really bugs me is there was a little bit of a, I'll just go ahead and rasterize this layer real quick. There was a little bit of a sensor dust on here, and it bugs me to no end. So it's like, I'll just fix that. And if you want to see how I did that real quick, just let me know. But anyways, back to the point here. I think that looks pretty good to start now with the next step, which is some of the presets that we'll work with in Lightroom. So real quickly, we'll go Layer, Flatten, and then Control S to save it. Now this saves some size, and I don't close this, and I could save it as a Photoshop file so that, you know, years later I could still come back to it. But right now this still gives me a good point to where if I needed to, I could go back in my history to here, and I'd have everything before flatten image, and then I could have everything I needed to work with. Anyways, without further ado, let's get back over to Lightroom. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do in Lightroom is apply now some type of starting point. And I'm going to do something for, I call it Light Bump No Vert, and it just basically is applying a few things. I'll show you those real quick. First thing though, let's not worry about anything we don't want to, so let's crop this guy down to where we'd like to have him. So now we've only got workable area that we have to worry about for all the adjustments. So far not bad. You can see what happened here on that bump. Contrast went up a little bit, highlights went down, shadows went up, whites went up, blacks went down, added more clarity. That's all that it was there. If you need to stop and go back, that's okay. But one of the first important things on a stormy day, I'm shooting manual at about 5600 Kelvin or 5500 Kelvin. So first thing I'm going to do is just drop the temperature of this whole thing just a tad. Boom. Just add a little bit more blue in there. That's all that it did. Now I'm going to go ahead and start playing with some of these adjustments to say, okay, maybe bring that up. White's a little bit more. I need definitely some more shadows in there. Maybe bump the clarity a little bit. Don't need so much blacks because it's such a dark day anyways. And let's see what happens when I start bringing up the exposure. Hey, not looking too bad. But watch the histogram up on the right. You can see we're starting to really get far over to the right, which means some things are going to get overexposed. So now this is where you can start adding in brushes. So maybe I'll add in a shadows brush with hardly any shadows here at the doorway. So just to highlight that in. So hey, now that comes in a little bit better. Let's add another one with a little bit of a dark shadows, then around the stone to give it some contrast. So we'll actually bring some of the shadows back from the stone. We can even add another shadow brush at the very top as though the roof, we're giving it just a little bit of a shadow. Now these are very, very small adjustments. They're not supposed to look dramatic. They're just enough to give you that little bit of, hey, this is more of a natural looking picture. So that's not looking too bad. That's about where we are. Maybe I'd add just a little bit of saturation to it, bring up the vibrance of the sky just a tad, and then maybe just the whites just a little bit more to add a real bunch of punch to it. And our final product looks like this. And that's all there is to it. It's really a matter of getting enough footage when you're first there and realizing that you want kind of not an underexposed shot, but kind of a dull shot, something you can work well with the sky replacement, then something very bright, but you want to make sure they're all sharp. So use a tripod, monopod if you need to. I use a monopod as I'm out there. And then of course, being able to realize that you can't use just any sky on this. It's going to look like a bright day. Make sure that you get some sky swaps that you can use. When you see a storm break and you've got some clouds that are starting to just break apart and you've got sky, that's a perfect one to use. It still looks very good. It's a lot better than a completely stormy day, so it'll actually highlight the picture a lot better. Well, I hope this video was very useful for you and that you can use some of this in your photography as well. Once again, if you'd like some online training with this, one-on-one with me, just email me at nathan@nathancoolphoto.com. If you did like these videos, they're all free, and if you did, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. It won't cost you anything, and as soon as one of these videos is posted, you'll be the first to know. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, take care, be safe, and get out there and shoot something.